tonight, guys. We'll go ahead and get started, and I'll try to catch my breath at the same time. I am Jeremiah Poling. I'm the Deputy General Manager of the Angelina Nature River Authority. We have these meetings annually to talk about our Clean Rivers program and other water quality related activities that we do in the Neches River Basin, in the upper and middle portions of the Neches River Basin. The Lower Neches Valley Authority takes care of the lower portion of the Neches River Basin. Today on the agenda we have some introductions from myself, and then Andrew Henry, our Clean Rivers Program Coordinator, is going to talk about the Clean Rivers Program and highlights for this year, and then we're going to have some presentations that are updates on projects that we have going on that are adjacent to the Clean Rivers Program. The Neches River Basin is about 10,000 some odd square miles. The jurisdictional area is split between the Angelina Nature River Authority in the north and the Lower Neches Valley Authority has 3 counties down at the bottom. ANRA's jurisdictional area is all or a portion of 17 counties that you can see listed on the slide there. We think of ourselves, the River Authority, in 3 different pieces. We have our General Administration Department, which is coordination with governments and entities, water resource planning and development, and we also do bond issuances for economic development. We also have our operations division, which operates a wastewater treatment plant, 2 actually wastewater treatment plants, several drinking water utilities, and we have a composting facility that's in between Jacksonville and Palestine that takes wastewater sludge from municipal sewer plants and turns it into compost, beneficial use instead of landfill or land applying it. And then we have our, I'm missing a slide, but we also have our environmental division. Our environmental division does the Clean Rivers Program, projects that are similar to the Clean Rivers Program, education and outreach, and we also have an environmental laboratory that analyzes all of our samples as well as samples from municipalities in East Texas for their wastewater treatment plants and their drinking water plants, and also we take in samples from the general public if someone wants their well water tested or something like that. We're capable of doing that. So, as I said, Andrew Henry is our Clean Rivers Program Coordinator. He just started with us in March of this year, so this is kind of a trial by fire for him. So I'm going to hand it off to him and let him tell you about the Clean Rivers Program. Let's see if I can not get my wires.
All right, so for those of you who don't know, the Clean Rivers Program was a thing that started in Texas in 1991 by Texas legislature. And basically its purpose is to monitor and basically improve or at least maintain the state's water quality throughout all the surface water. It's funded by state fees, and basically the money they get from that goes to the 15 different partner agencies, which are all the river authorities and similar things. So, if you look up here, this is our budget allocations for the upcoming fiscal year. The Clean Rivers Program altogether for everything, it's a little bit over $10 million was the budget. It's kind of weird, the way the laws were written for how we're funded is also combined with the Lower Neches Valley Authority, since we're still dealing with the same river. And so basically we get half of this total amount for the 2 years. So essentially half of this per year, which we can look at on the next slide, where we have our budget broken down a little bit more. So this is basically for the next 2 years where our money's going that we get from Clean Rivers Program. So the vast majority of it goes to personnel salary, which that's multiple people, and with the Clean Rivers Program, you kind of have, you allocate a certain percentage of your time towards the Clean Rivers Program, and so you basically are like billing CRP for your time, and different people have different amounts of time allocated to the program at ANRA, and so that's way too in-depth for going way too far into that. Most of the stuff, other random things that are kind of self-explanatory, equipment, supplies, travel. The one other category is mainly just lab costs because we do have our own environmental lab, and water sample testing is expensive. So good chunk of the budget goes to that. That's a couple other things like printing the highlights report, things like that. We'll go ahead and move forward. So we're our monitoring schedule. So like Jeremiah said, we mainly deal with kind of the middle and upper portions of the Neches Basin. Most of it's kind of in the middle part for us, and these different regions get different areas. So we continue to monitor the 37 routine sites that we already have. That's not changing as far as that goes. We haven't dropped any as far as I'm aware. And then our one 24-hour dissolved oxygen site, which is basically like 5 minutes from the office. It's very convenient to go do. But as far as changes go for us, we picked back up a 24-hour dissolved oxygen monitoring site at the riverine portion of Sam Rayburn, which is basically that kind of looks like a giant river portion at the western edge of Sam Rayburn, basically where Angelina River feeds into it. So we're doing that again. I have to go canoe out to it. It's kind of fun. Earlier, a little bit before I got here, the Texas Institute for Applied Environmental Research just finished monitoring up on Kickapoo Creek for their watershed protection plan. That finished in February, so it's done, but I still have it listed up here because it still happened this year. And then the Aish and Westmud project, that's something we're doing monitoring for now. And there's 8 sites involved with it. 2 of them were part of those 37 sites that we already do. So we just kind of, those now are part of Aish and CRP. I think CRP charges for them, or maybe the other way around. I can't remember.
Yeah, so those 2, we're just coordinating monitoring schedules with those. So on a month when we do CRP monitoring, the project doesn't monitor those particular sites, and in off months the project monitors them. So that we end up with 12 months of continuous monitoring instead of quarterly monitoring, or monthly monitoring instead of quarterly.
Right. Thank you. And so basically, out of all that, we end up with 6 more sites, and those are every 3 weeks as of right now. We're doing those. Chart we've got listed, other entities doing other things in the basin. TCEQ regions 5 and 10, which is Tyler and Beaumont. They're picking up some sites. We already talked about Tier and their sampling, how that's over. And then the kind of odd one, it's the Tarrant Regional Water District. They own some water in Lake Palestine, and so they sample there. But even though they're technically, I think, with Trinity River Authority. So a map of what all that looks like visualized. We've got a lot going on here, but it's basically all just color-coded. Blue is ANRA, green is LNVA, or Lower Neches Valley Authority. SFA has some sites that they're monitoring. I think I forgot to mention that. That's part of an Atoyac project. That's just kind of been ongoing for quite a while now. So they're monitoring those few sites up there. And also to give you a visual of where our jurisdiction is, blue is ANRA, green is Lower Neches Valley Authority. So when we do water quality monitoring, we have basically a couple different types of things we're looking at. So with our field parameters, these are things we get out in the field. We collect them there. And usually this is either by one tool or another, like a sonde, which is a big probe that you put in the water. That gets us things like dissolved oxygen, pH, which is acidity or basicity, how basic something is, or how acidic something is. Conductivity, which is kind of like a measure of how saline the water is, how much salt is in the water, or other dissolved solids that can conduct electricity. I don't have to get crazy into that, but instantaneous stream flow, velocity, basically seeing how fast the water is moving, water temperature. Secchi depth is basically a measure of transparency, where you put this black and white disc in the water and basically wait until it disappears. You record that depth, and it's useful for certain things like dealing with algal growth, and we'll get to that later. Present weather, day since last significant rainfall, flow severity, Our conventional parameters, these are usually things that get tested in the lab. We have a bunch of different types and kind of, I guess, species of nitrogen, like TKN, that's, I think, organic nitrogen. Chlorophyll and pheophytin, that's basically a measure of algae, algal growth, things like that. And then we have some nutrients and other just dissolved solids and ions that are in the water, chloride, sulfates, total phosphorus, total suspended solids, and then bacteria, E. coli, that's our indicator bacteria for basically a bunch of other nasty stuff that comes with human and animal waste. That's kind of the baseline measurement bacteria that we use to see if, okay, if that's there, there's probably other bad stuff there. But it's easier to measure than a lot of those other things. I think also more cost effective. So here is kind of how the basin gets broken down. We break it up into segments, watersheds, basically where all the water drains into. Sometimes it's a large stream segment, sometimes it's a lake, which usually these lakes were stream segments at one time, but they've been dammed up. We mainly deal with 604 and then 610, 611, 612, and that's basically the Natchez below Lake Palestine, and we have the Angelina Basin, the riverine portion of Rayburn itself, and the Atoyac Bayou watershed. So another thing that we're here for is the Basin Highlights Report. We just published our final draft of that. We've got printed copies here if you want one. And basically this just goes in and talks about what we've done and what we're planning to do, and pretty much just what's going on in the basin. So part of that is looking at what happens with TCEQ's integrated report. And basically every other year TCEQ comes out with a report, and on it is a 303D list, which is basically lists all the impaired waters in the state. So these are the ones that we're dealing with. The ones in red are new. So we have a couple new ones, new listings for bacteria in water, which is a very common issue throughout the state in general, for West Creek and Bayou Carrizo. And then we also have excessive algal growth at Sam Rayburn and Lake Tyler East. And then also another kind of weirder thing is part of Sam Rayburn is now impaired for high pH. So with the bacteria and water issues, these are likely not new issues. The creeks have probably already been like that already, but they have just now had enough data to be assessed by TCEQ. So TCEQ uses a 7-year window of data, and so now that they have that 7 years worth of data, they were able to assess it and found that it was impaired by the standards that are set for it for primary contact recreation. This bottom red line here is basically the limit for primary contact recreation, which is basically people who swim, run around in, kayak on water, the most potential for you to ingest water from whatever water body it is. Right now, West Creek is part of the Atoyac Bayou Watershed Protection Plan, so it's being addressed. Bayou Carrizo, we still got to get more information before we take any action on it. So with the excessive algal growth, this one kind of turns into a long story as far as assessment methods changing, which we'll look at on the next slide, but basically you can see with our data here, these are basically 10-year data sets. All these little black dots, I guess I should have mentioned that earlier, those are all samples measured at different whatever they tested at. And so you can see with the blue trend lines, the amount of chlorophyll has been going up at these places. Although at Lake Tyler East it's kind of slight, and it might actually naturally go off the list because of the way it's assessed. and look at the values here, which are probably kind of hard to see, but for Tyler's, most of the values are going towards better numbers. I say better instead of down because Secchi depth, technically, the larger the number is, that means the farther you can see and the better the reading is. So here's that long story I was talking about. In 2001, basically the TCEQ began to develop nutrient criteria for the Texas Surface Water Quality Standards. That's the TSWQS. And that takes a long time. And so by 2010, 9 years later, they adopted nutrient criteria. And I should step back. Nutrients are things like phosphorus, nitrogen, the amount of chlorophyll, Secchi depth. Those all kind of go into that. So they adopted the nutrient criteria for 75 reservoirs. This is basically what limits they set for each individual lake. And the EPA said, hold up, we're only approving 39 of these. So right now, 39 out of those 75 are approved. Of those 39 are Sam Rayburn and Lake Tyler East. So they got the approved new criteria. And so moving forward to 2016 is when the TCEQ started assessing reservoirs with the EPA approved criteria or standards, whichever you prefer to call it. And they used a new line of evidence framework, which is this thing right here. And it's basically you go through and you look at different parameters and find, basically it's just a flow chart where is the median chlorophyll A criteria exceeded? If yes, you continue. If no, you don't have to worry about it. And it's just, you keep going on with different things, like the next one is total nitrogen and total phosphate. So the main point with this methodology that they had is that you could end up with something that was exceeding the nutrient criteria, but it still ends up as fully supporting. That's why a couple years later, in 2022, they changed that assessment method and added a 5N category, which basically means that it's impaired for nutrients and they want to find out more about it instead of just leaving it as fully supporting when it's technically not. There's something that needs to be fixed. And so also in 2022, that's the last integrated report, and they ended up putting Rayburn and Lake Tyler East on the 303D list because they went through the new flow chart and with their basically assessed values that they had, it exceeded at all the steps to end up. So it's the Toyac Bayou arm of Sam Rayburn that is listed for high pH. This one's kind of weird because all of the other units around it are not listed for that. Right now, the TCEQ's potential sources of impairments and concerns sections of the integrated report, it says that the impairment source is unknown. So no one really knows what it is right now. A couple ideas, but there's a lot of organic and inorganic processes that can change pH, and so there's kind of a lot more studies we have to do there, which I was kind of thinking about, like a 24-hour pH study, maybe look and see if it's a daily change with, I get way too deep in that, don't. Okay, so other things that are weird and we'll look at on the next slide is that there's also 3 different entities that monitor this lake. There's 10 different monitoring sites, and the data kind of, where did it go? Okay, well here's a larger version of the graph that is the impaired assessment unit. So yeah, this here, this is the kind of 20-year data set for that, and here's all of them together. So we've got TCEQ, ANRA, and LNVA, and basically we're all monitoring on here at different points, and there's some weird trends that I don't know if it just happens to be that way or if it's sampling methodologies. Still got to dig through the data quite a bit for this, but For instance, all of TCEQ's data is trending lower pH, while our data is trending upward towards higher pH. And even though LNVA's data is a little bit less, it's 10 years versus 20, they're also trending upward. And there's other parameters like dissolved oxygen and chlorophyll that we've kind of looked at. The data for the trend lines for those isn't quite statistically significant, so I didn't really want to present that and call it fact. But basically, yeah, kind of weird stuff going on, so I'm curious to find out what's happening with that. So here's a couple additional resources we've got, just helpful websites, TCEQ, if you want to read up more about in general for the Clean Rivers program, basically the SWCM manual that will teach you down to the wire exactly how we collect water samples, things like that. There's the Upper Neches Basin Quality Assurance Project Plan, or QAPP. That's up on our website. You can look at our monitoring activities on our website. The coordinated monitoring schedule, that's for the whole state. So if you want to look at where stuff's being monitored all over in the state of Texas, that would be where to go. And some education and outreach materials can also be found on our website at a different section. There's a lot of stuff on the website. Go check it out. But other than that, I think, who's next? I don't remember. Should probably print out the agenda.
Well, we've got two presenters that weren't able to make it today, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the two projects that they were working on, or three projects actually. So the Kickapoo Creek Water, thank you Andrew, by the way, that was good. Kickapoo Creek Watershed Protection Plan is out with EPA for approval. That one has been in the works for several years now. The Texas Institute for Applied Environmental Research, TIER, has been working on that one with us. We've been running some of the laboratory samples, the bacteria samples specifically for that one. And they were monitoring, let me see if I have a map for that one that I could show you. So this is the presentation that Leah Taylor is the project lead on this one. She gave this presentation at the last meeting that they had on May 2nd. So some of this is old news, but it has a map here. So the Kickapoo Creek watershed is just upstream of Lake Palestine. They were monitoring at 9 sites. I think the ones that have the little cross on them were 24-hour DO sites. So 3 sites for 24-hour DO, and the rest of them were bacteria and standard CRP parameters. They completed that monitoring in February, as Andrew said. The watershed protection plan, the writing of it was complete last month, I think, and it went out to EPA for approval. So hopefully we'll see. EPA's approval times on those things vary pretty wildly. We've seen some get approved pretty quickly, and sometimes it takes like a year. So time will tell on that. Presumably there's the list of monitoring sites. The purple ones are the 24-hour DO sites, and the others are standard sites. Although they did standard monitoring at the 24-hour DO sites as well. Usually after the watershed protection plan is approved by EPA, we'll have follow-up projects that try to implement the watershed protection plan. So the plan will have things in it that talk about what we would like to do to improve the water quality, and then we'll have follow-on projects to actually try to do those things. Watershed protection plan, we'll talk some more about that with some of the later presentations, but it's basically a stakeholder-driven plan to try and improve, restore, or maintain good water quality within a particular watershed. The two main watershed-based tools that we have for doing watershed improvement are TMDLs, which are total maximum daily loads, and watershed protection plans. They do a lot of the same things. TMDL is more regulatory driven, and a watershed protection plan is more stakeholder driven. I'm just going to spin through this real quickly because it's old stuff. But these were some of the potential causes of bacteria. Kickapoo is impaired for bacteria, by the way. As Andrew said, a lot of bacteria impairments in the state and in East Texas especially. Some of the potential causes that were identified by the stakeholder groups were failing septic systems, wastewater treatment plants. Not so much the treatment plants, they tend to be pretty good, but the collection systems for the treatment plants can sometimes have issues. You'll have sewer overflowing manholes before it ever gets to the treatment plants. Urban runoff from pet waste and fertilizers and stuff like that. Like Kickapoo is a fairly rural watershed, so livestock, wildlife, pets, illegal dumping, that sort of thing. I'm going to skip over that stuff because I can't speak to it well enough. If you want to see the draft watershed protection plan, it is up on. Sorry, I'm just going to skip through all this because I don't have anything to say about it. I think at the very end there's a link. So draft versions of the watershed protection plan, or the chapters that went into it, are up on the website, and then I believe the entire final draft is up on that website as well. So it's tarleton.edu/tier/Kickapoo Creek WPP. So that one is it's basically complete, waiting on EPA approval, and then there will be follow-up work done, hopefully, to try and implement that watershed protection plan. Does anybody have any questions about that? I'll try to answer them. Make it up as we go. And then we also have two other things I don't have presentations for, but the Texas Water Resource Institute, which we have a few people from here today, are working on multiple projects in partnership with the River Authority and TCQ and the Soil Board. Two of those projects that we don't have somebody here to present for today are the Lanana Bayou Watershed Protection Plan, which actually was just approved last month, and it's going to be, the final is going to be published in mid-July, and we have a educational event scheduled for July 19th in Nacogdoches. It's going to be the Healthy Lawns and Healthy Waters workshop. It's targeted to where that one's targeted towards the general public, and then we have another one that we're hoping to get scheduled that is the Urban Riparian Restoration Workshop for engineers. That one's targeted at like city planners and developers and things like that. That's something that the city of Nacogdoches, several people in the city asked for. So we're trying to get that put together. If anybody's interested in that, then let us know, and that will help drive making that happen. So if you know somebody that would be interested in going to that, then let me know, and we'll add them to the list of raised hands wanting that thing. That process has been going on for, I want to say, about 3 years at this point, 3 or 4 years. We did a bunch of sampling to do a watershed characterization, and then that flowed into the watershed protection plan. And as with the others, the watershed protection plan outlines a bunch of steps that we think will help improve the water quality, and we'll start up additional projects to try and make those things happen. Those are mostly grant-funded projects. It's money coming down from EPA through the 319 section of the Clean Water Act. They have funding that they make available to the state of Texas through the Texas State Soil and Water Conservation Board and the TCEQ. It gets split basically half and half, and then those two agencies dole out the money to projects that they think are worthwhile. And then, I lost my there. See where we are. I'm just blowing through this. We have Duncan from TWRI. Do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first?
Okay.
Who wants to go first? So we have some other projects, and I'm going to let the people who actually know what they're talking about talk on those.
Jeremiah, is there anybody coming from Tyre or from this watershed?
I don't know.
Okay. I mean,
I don't think so.
okay. We had hoped, one of the reasons why we came to Tyler, we thought, some people would come and attend because West Mud Creek, which is this small thing there, this is where we are. So I'm working with ANRA and TCQ. I manage these two projects, and we are working in the Aish Bayou watershed. It's impaired for bacteria, and West Mud Creek. So the goal, as you most of know, it's to address impairments by working with the local stakeholders to develop and implement action plans that improve water quality. So about West Mud Creek, it drains the upper north of the watershed, drains Tyler, the city. And as I said, we had hoped that some people could, some local stakeholders could come and we talk about them. But luckily yesterday we had a meeting with the city of Tyler, me with the ANRA team and some people from TWII. So we already engaged them and we got positive feedback. So the creek, which is impaired for bacteria, is a tributary of Mud Creek, which itself is a tributary of the Angelina River. It's a relatively smaller watershed, about 100 square miles, and it's in two sub-counties. The city of Tyler is the biggest urban area, although to the south there is the city of Blood and White House. A small part of White House also lies within this watershed. Being an urban watershed to a large extent, typical sources of contamination from urban watersheds, this is just listing a few, would include human waste, which can reach water bodies from leaking sewer lines or sewer overflows, or again, animal waste from domesticated animals transported via runoff can also end up reaching the water body. Just on the extreme down right, there are two graphs trying to show the current state of water quality in the watershed. And as you can see, the big takeoff is that the trends are increasing. They are not going down, so this makes it like super important to come in early when things are like very out of hand. The black, I don't know if it's clear where you're sitting, but the standard is the 126 for, as Andrew was talking about, for primary contact recreation. So in the early 20s, it was not a big problem, but currently the red is the trend line, and it shows that almost all the data points now are above the standard for recreation use. So that's about West Mud Creek. Then Aish Bayou, it's a different story. It's a bit larger, and it's more of a rural watershed compared to West Mud Creek. So for it, the pollutant sources are going to be different because we, as I will explain later, we are not at a stage where we've identified the sources. We are, trying to see, is there enough data? Can we go ahead and characterize the watershed based on what we have? Yeah. So, but here what I've included are just typical sources, and in a rural watershed, of course, rural watersheds, there will be septic tanks. Those are some of the candidates that usually where the human waste would be coming from. Again, you will find a lot of wild animals compared to urban watersheds where instead the big chunk of waste from animals could be domesticated animals. So Aish Bayou almost entirely, around 99% is in one county. So our stakeholders, they are focused, where to go. And it has a couple of different tributaries because we needed to ascertain where these pollutants are coming from. We've been monitoring the different tributaries of the Aish Bayou and as part of the current project. So in the next slide, I will show you where we are. Jeremiah talked about watershed planning. I'm not going to repeat it, but TWI and ANRA are working with TCQ to monitor water quality, engage, and develop strategies for improving water quality in these watersheds. Usually, the whole process starts with, you go to a watershed, it has been listed as impaired, so you go and gather and analyze existing data to determine if there is enough data for you to proceed to the next stage. So for Aish Bayou, last year, that was the activity where we went there, tried to see is there enough data so that we can start doing source analysis of, and quantify the different roads. But based on what results we already have, we didn't have stream flow data, especially for raw flows, because it's a flood monitoring gauge, so they have not been, measuring raw flows. So after that, we went and talked to TCQ. They were kind enough to support us to do additional monitoring, and that's what we are doing right now. And it's planned that because we don't have enough data points, that even 2022 we shall be doing 2022, 2023. We shall also be doing additional monitoring in the Aish Bayou. For the West Mud Creek, there was an analysis characterization done that ended in 2021, but it covered the entire tributaries, the Angelina River north of the Sam Rayburn Reservoir. But the West Mud Creek was picked. One, it was urban, and as you might know, urban watersheds, because of the regulatory nature of cities and stuff, they might be easier to control, and there was a lot of pollutants specifically for these other watersheds. So of the many watersheds that were in the Angelina above Sam Rayburn, for now, when we talked to TCQ, they were okay with us proceeding the West Mud Creek. So this year, there was a project that was combined with the Aish Bayou, and with the TCQ and ANRA, we agreed to do some engagement within this area in preparation for the next phase of this project. So that's why I was saying that last year, like yesterday, for instance, we were engaging people from this area, and the engagement will continue. So tentatively, we think next year we've put in plans, talking to TCEQ, to consider to continue working in these two watersheds. Next year we might go to the next stage for the West Mud Creek, which would be like what we call a technical support document. This document goes down and identifies the roads and the road reductions. Then from there we can go to the actual TMDL process and watershed protection planning process. For the Aish Bayou, as I hinted, we are still in the earliest phase as possible, but with enough, we shall, by the end of August, we shall evaluate the kind of data we have. If it's enough, then we can go to characterizing the sources in the watershed and that stuff. If the data is not enough, we shall continue with monitoring, hopefully. So that should be all about these two projects. I'm not going to the nitty-gritties of X, Y, and Z, what we are actually doing, but this information would be specifically relevant to people in the watershed, because we have websites where you can sign in, and whenever there are updates, you receive them, because there is a sign up link here. But even other people, it doesn't have to be people from the watersheds. You can always check it there, and then you see what's happening in the watershed, and you'll get updates whenever they come up. Thank you.
Next, we have an update on the TMDL project that is happening around the city of Lufkin on the Middle Neches tributaries. And Luna from TWRI is going to talk about that one.
Hi, I'm Luna Yan. I'm with TWRI. I'm a research specialist, so I go out and monitor 4 times a month, and also develop TWRI documents and watershed protection plan, I-plan, things like that. So the Cedar Creek technical support document is an addendum to the Middle Natchez TMDL document. So the Middle Natchez River Basin, which includes the Jack Creek and Cedar Creek, Hurricane Creek and Biloxi Creek, then those creeks were listed as impaired for primary recreational use in 2000. Then in 2022, TCEQ listed Cedar Creek, the AU 0604 03 as impaired for elevated bacteria concentration as well. So we developed this technical supporting document as addendum. So this AU has technically two SWCAM stations, but we use the downstream station to develop the document, to develop the TMDL. And based on the 2022 Texas Integrated Report, the geometric mean for that station was 186.67, so not too much above the 126 criterion. And for this station, the historical water quality, this is a 7-year rolling geometric mean. In my opinion, it's increasing a little bit, but it's not too off the chart. There are some extremely high concentration observations, and this watershed is 100% within, almost 100%. There's one house, if you look at the area imagery, there's one house that's outside of Lufkin city limit, but it's 100% within Lufkin, almost 100% within the loop 287. So super urbanized. There's no wastewater treatment plant outlets directly located within the watershed, but we have the Hurricane Creek wastewater treatment plant very close by in that area. So in this technical supporting document, we do the same thing that we would do for developing a total TMDL document, where we develop the load duration curve, then calculate the load reduction needs to meet the 126 criterion. And because this watershed does not have a USGS gauging station, our flow duration curve was developed using Surrogate watershed, which is a USGS gauging station near Livingston, called Long King Creek. So based on using the drainage area ratio method, we calculate the 5% exceeding probability flow and multiplied that by 126. So our based on our criterion, we should have no more than this amount, which is the solid line. That's our criterion, and the dashed line is a single sample criterion, which is 399 CFU per 100 milliliter. And if we look at the geometric mean of the observed bacterial measurements, we have very high bacterial concentration when it's in high flow condition. High flow conditions above 5% exceedance probability. So we have, that's most likely due to regulated and unregulated stormwater. And in the mid to dry low flow conditions, our geometric mean is kind of within like acceptable range. It's not super high, which means that because there's no wastewater treatment plants, it might be because of periodical events like SSO overflows. So this is the amount that we want to bring down to meet the 126 criterion, which is 95%. This is the flow duration curve that we developed for the TMD, for the middle nitrous TMDL, and that's 2 years ago, 2020. It's accepted in 2022 by TCEQ. And for the high flow, it's the same situation for Cedar Creek, downstream of Cedar Creek. It's a 94% reduction requirements to meet the standard. So because it's so urbanized, it's like stormwater, regular and unregular stormwater is like a huge problem here. And also because it's urbanized area, there's no septic tanks. Theoretically, there should be no septic tanks, but there is a probability that there's bootlegged or whatever grandfathered septic tanks that are leaking that we don't know of. And for the most part, wildlife is a huge problem when it comes to non-point source pollution, but it's kind of difficult to control. So those are the potential causes and the sources that we postulate that's happening in the watershed. And this addendum is going to be added to the middle nitrous accepted TMDL by TCEQ. And the project manager is Michael Schramm, which is our specialist in TWRI. And if you have any questions, you can contact me or him or the TCEQ project manager, Nicole. That's it. Thank you.
All right. This thing struggles when I'm recording video. Okay. Next, Kimberly, it looks like you're up. Next, we're going to have Kimberly Wagner. Kimberly is our Executive Manager of Communications at the River Authority. She spearheads all of our education and outreach activities, as well as basically anything public-facing. Jack of all trades.
Kim of all trades.
Kim of all trades. There you go. I'm telling you, this thing doesn't want. There you go.
All right. Well, hey, everybody. Glad to be here. This is actually my first steering committee meeting, even though I've been with ANRA for several years now. So thank you for coming. And anybody who's watching online, thanks for watching as well. So although there's not a lot of people in this room, and although all of our maps and data, and we see a lot of red on those maps, it's really kind of a negative indicator that maybe a lot of people don't care about water quality, that things are just bad. The good part of what I get to do for ANRA is I get to see the other side of that there's actually a lot of people that do care, and that's actually really increasing. And so I'm going to show y'all some of that proof today. So even though people like Andrew might be the boots on the ground, or I guess more the waders in the water type people that get that data for us, I get to find out, well, what's wrong, and then I get to share with people, here's what's wrong, now here's what we're going to do about it. So although I do all the marketing communications for ANRA and all of the different programs in general, my heart really lies within the CRP program and all the things that we do here. I just have a heart for that. So some of the things that we have been doing over this past year that have just really, I think, improved people's ability to understand water quality issues. First of all, the technical side of things. We have worked really hard to improve our website and our social media, and I'm not a tech person at all. And so being able to be a part of updating our website and our social media over the past year has been a big struggle for me, but a really good learning curve. And I definitely couldn't have done it without Jeremiah over there. I actually finally figured out how to update our logo on LinkedIn just the other day because that's one of the things that we've done. We have a new updated website. I encourage all of you to go to that at www.anra.org. We still have a little ways to go on that, but I like to think that we're so busy doing all these other great things for water quality that that's just kind of on the back burner right now, but also have really focused on trying to reach more people through our social media. I've done my first tweet, my first Instagram post, this year, and we're trying to work on getting more involved in other types of social media rather than just traditional Facebook, which has always kind of been our fallback. But even with that, we've really improved our reach on that and grown by a lot, actually. And so one thing that we try to do is post a lot of fun things that we do. One of my favorite new Facebook series I do is called Stranger Things Found in Our Waterways, where whenever Andrew or whoever's doing our sampling goes out and find, because I'm sure all of you have experienced some weird, strange things that you find whenever you're out there doing your sampling. So we like to post about them. So we've done everything from finding what I'm assuming is an old McDonald's toy to parts of boats to bones and spears and frying pans, and this one was really scary because honestly thought it was a human body at first. Luckily it just turned out to be a mannequin head, and Blockbuster bags, vacuums, all kinds of strange things that we have found. And of course, yes, we do pick up what we can safely and get it out of there. Unfortunately, sometimes there's just too much, as I'm sure all of you have experienced. So being able to reach people through ways like this has been really, really informative and really beneficial. That's always the number one question whenever I go to a school and talk to them. Just last week I was speaking at a STEM camp and they were like, have you ever found bodies in the water? And that's always the number one question they want to know, even like little first graders. So. We also had a really exciting opportunity that we've never done before this year. We got to be part of a documentary. There is a graduate student at SFA who was doing a documentary about water quality and water impairments as his thesis. He also composed and wrote the music for it. The title of the documentary is called Downstream. You can watch it on YouTube. He did a really nice job of capturing, what are the issues going on here in East Texas, and it's really nice music, so I do encourage all of you to go and take a look at that. So we were just really grateful to be a part of it. I was interviewed and part of it, which I'm not, ironically, even though I love talking in front of people, I hate being on TV and on camera, so I hate this right now, for instance, knowing that it's going to be online, but he did a fantastic job with it, and I got to help guide him as far as here's some places where you can go, here are some people that you can talk to really get the whole idea of what these problems are here in East Texas. Yes?
Does he find anything different than what you all study? Is there anything he just kind of fell in and found?
He had a major emphasis on the litter problem. So he didn't focus quite so much on like bacterial impairments or anything like that. It was really highly focused on the litter problem, which we're all pretty well aware of. Okay. Of course, we are continuing with our alligator snapping turtle campaign. So this is another big one for kids that they love to talk about. So we do still have all of our 20-something plus signs posted around. I have people that, commonly say, oh yeah, I saw your signs up the other day. And, I got to be a part of actually driving those signs into the ground. So it's nice to get noticed for that. Not sure, I'd have to ask Andrew, and I'm not going to put him on the spot and ask him right now, but we are still getting people submitting photos and information as far as if they've had any sightings for the alligator snapping turtles. Apparently, though, there's not really much of a problem from what people tell me. All the people that are out fishing on the river say that they come across them all the time, but we have a whole lot of people who are not reporting it. I just happen to find a post maybe that somebody's made on like the Nature's River Life page, and I'll see it, and so then they'll say, hey, why don't you send us that? So we are still getting some data on that. So that's exciting. And again, if nothing else, it's a really good talking point. Okay, we also, let's see, over this past year, we've distributed about 1,000 of our coloring and activity books. We have 2 different ones that we developed 2 years ago. One focused for 3rd through 5th graders, and then the other one is focused for middle school aged. But I am working with a couple of different Keep Texas Beautiful affiliates, and we are going to do our coloring and activity books version 2.0, and hopefully we'll have those rolled out beginning in January of 2024. So we're really excited about that. We have a lot of really great new ideas for these, and kids love them, and adults love them too. So yes.
How can we get those? Do you mail them to us? Or?
I can mail them to you. There's also digital versions on our website, but I am more than happy to mail you some. Meetings and partnerships. This is really the heart of what I do. If y'all haven't figured it out, I like to talk, and I happen to be pretty good at it. So I talk a lot. I go to meetings, just all kinds of meetings. I just get involved in communities. In fact, our guest presenter that is speaking after me, Ms. Corey Edson right there, she is from Keep White House Beautiful, and she's a perfect example of establishing partnerships and getting involved in different communities and finding common goals. And she is proof of one of those people that I told you that actually do care about water quality and what that means. But just establishing new partnerships with new organizations, individuals, whether it's a school or a nonprofit or whatever it may be, but we're just always looking for new ways to just reach more and more people. So, and that's fun, again, because I like to talk. Presentations and public outreach is a big part of what I do as well. I get to, you know, it's gotten to a point where I'm having to turn people away, unfortunately, or say, you know, I can't come this time, but keep me on the list for next time. And I think that that's a really good problem to have, that I literally don't have enough time to go and talk to all the different organizations that have requested me. But I do try my very best to go see everybody that I can. Over this past year, we've made quite a few different general presentations, whether it's at schools with Texas Master Naturalists, Texas Master Gardeners, 4-H clubs. I mentioned the STEM camp. I was there last week. Next week, I'm actually going to be presenting at a 4-H camp and also at a Parks and Recreation camp, all on water quality related issues. I've developed a lot of really fun activities, which includes making little miniature Secchi discs. So if anybody is interested in that activity, I can get you the information on that. But just finding unique ways to get people involved, no matter what their age is. Although it's a little hard to keep track of the exact numbers, I estimate that right here I have listed 1,500. That's really just been since about January. It's probably double that as far as the amount of people that I've actually gone out and spoken to. So that's a really, really great way. And of course, I don't just talk about water quality per se or water quality monitoring, but we might talk about our environmental laboratory or our nature's compost facility and things like that, and then how all of that stuff ties into water quality. Okay. Also, Texas Stream Team. This is something I got certified just right at a year ago to become a Texas Stream Team trainer. As far as I know, I think I'm the only one in East Texas right now, but that's all about to change because Andrew, beginning this Saturday at my next Stream Team training, he is going to be earning his level 1 certification, level 1 of 3 levels to become a trainer. And so let's see, since I held my first training in August, and I've had 5 trainings since then. I'm having another one this upcoming Saturday. It's already completely booked, and I have a waiting list of people wanting to take the training. So this, again, is a really good problem. And the only thing that requires it that's making the training completely booked is because I only have so many Stream Team kits. If we had more, I could have more people trained. But so far, I have trained 32 volunteers. For Saturday's training, I have 15 registered. So this will be the biggest one that I have held so far. I'm really excited about it. And I know Andrew's going to do a great job. And so for those of you who aren't familiar with Texas Stream Team, it is a volunteer water quality monitoring program where I train volunteers to conduct field parameters and also to conduct 3 chemical parameters, including conductivity, DO, and pH. And they use specific kits. They don't use the super fancy expensive tools that professional monitors use. This is a way to get volunteers involved in learning about issues in the water around them, because they get to choose a monthly monitoring location of their choice. So that's what makes it really unique. Okay. And then another big thing that we have done is our Stash Your Trash litter bag campaign. All of you probably noticed the bright yellow trash bags I charged in here with. You can't help but notice them. This has been extremely successful. I started this, I got the idea last year, and then in the fall actually ordered the bags. Did not actually start distributing these bags until about November, somewhere around there. And since then, we have given out about 6,000 of them. And so that's really exciting. One good thing though is I'm not just seeing them like washed up on the waterways or anything like that. I think people are actually using them for their intended purpose. They are made out of recycled material. They are reusable, which we very much encourage people to do, is to reuse these bags. They are intended for outdoor recreational uses. So if you're hiking, if you're biking, if you're swimming, fishing, they're fantastic because without sounding too much like an infomercial, you can put your trash in them and water goes right through them, because as you can see back there, they're made out of that mesh material, so they're not like a flimsy plastic trash bag. And they can hold up to 50 pounds. They're not going to tear. They've got a little drawstring on them, so we have people that might go kayaking or boating, and they'll tie them to their kayak and they can just float in the water, keep their trash in. And again, it just really helps prevent a lot of litter. And so we have partnered with different Keep Texas Beautiful affiliates, including Keep White House Beautiful. They are our newest affiliate partner. We also have Keep Knack Beautiful, Angeline Beautiful Clean, and Keep Jasper Beautiful, who are our partners. And what they do is they help us to promote the litter bag program and to distribute these litter bags at local events. So for instance, last weekend was the Blueberry Festival in Nacogdoches. I don't even know how many of those that we distributed at the Blueberry Festival, but boy, it sure was clean on those streets after the Blueberry Festival. Maybe it was partially because of our bags, I don't know, but I like to think it is. We also distribute these to different businesses, so we have a lot of people that run like bait and tackle shops, or maybe a kayak outfitter, and gas stations that they will put them on their countertops and let their customers have these. We are promoting them on our social media and website. Also, for people to go to, driving people to go to those businesses to collect these bags. We have a stash of them in our office, and they go like hotcakes. So, all really good things. Okay. And continuing on with stashing your trash. We sponsor a couple of different fishing tournaments in the spring. So in April and May, we were part of 2 different fishing tournaments. We were like the title sponsor in one, and then one of the top sponsors in the other one. And we had a Stash Your Trash contest where we actually provided prize money to the people who brought in the most amount of trash using our Stash Your Trash bags. This was really, really fun. More than 1,000 pounds of trash was collected and weighed in, because we used the same weights as what they weighed the catfish with. And so we had bags of trash that weighed more than the top catfish, so woohoo. So that was a really fun way that got a lot of promotion for that. And then, of course, with our Stash Your Trash cleanup stream team events, things like that, we try to have some, we try to have quarterly stream cleanup events. That doesn't always happen, whether it's because of weather or timing or whatever it might be. But we do have some really cool things planned. We have partnered with other organizations to do some stream cleanups. So for instance, we did do a Bonita Creek cleanup in association with SFA and also Keep Nacogdoches Beautiful. Like I said, we were part of the Blueberry Festival, picking up trash with that. Wrote some roadway cleanups, because even though that's not right near a waterway, you all know it all ends up in the water anyway, so we can keep it off the streets, we can keep it out of the water. Okay. And these are just some general pictures of some of the trash collected. So these people at the fishing tournament. They actually filled up their boat. They decided they weren't going to win the fishing tournament side of things, but by golly, they could win the trash pickup side of things, and they did. They won first prize for that. But these are just some general pictures. We have some volunteers who have gone and cleaned up some areas along the lake just in their own time, independently. No prizes awarded. They just wanted to do a good thing. So we ask and encourage people to submit their pictures to us of them using our litter bags, and so far it's been a really, really great program. All right, and so because I don't like to get bored, I'm always trying to plan new things, and we have a lot of really great things that are currently going on and that are going to be going on in the very near future. So we are promoting, we have an internship program this year. We have had an intern or two in the past, but we haven't ever really had a well-established internship program, but that is changing, and we're getting more applicants and people interested in just simply coming and volunteering for us than I ever thought that we would get. So I'm really excited about that. We just yesterday, we actually were working with SFA through their Center for Applied Research and Rural Innovation program. And so through them, we have hired 2 interns as of yesterday, one to work in our environmental laboratory and another to work with Andrew in our CRP program. So they will likely both be starting next week. So really excited about that. Really great way to get young students involved. Like I said, string team trainings, gonna have that one coming up this Saturday, and then another one in the fall. Summer camps, STEM camps, all kinds of things all throughout the summer. Like I said, the new coloring books are going to be coming up. We're going to be, since we've already gone through so many of these litter bags so fast, I'm already working on improving and having a Stash Your Trash campaign 2.0, one in which on our new bags that we have, we'll actually have Keep White House Beautiful's logo on it this time because they weren't yet a partner whenever we first got the bags, but their logo is going to be on it whenever we order our next set. Then 2 other exciting events that we have coming up in the fall, and one all the way next spring, but we're going to have a Battle of the Banks competition, and this is going to be where we clean up a section of the Angelina River that divides Angelina and Nacogdoches counties. So keep Nacogdoches beautiful and Angelina beautiful clean. I don't know, some of you may not know, Lufkin and Nacogdoches, there's always been a friendly little rivalry between the 2 cities on the opposite sides of the river, and we're going to have a Battle of the Banks, and we're going to clean up both sides of the river. It's going to be a competition, so that should be a lot of fun, and trying to get a sponsor for that event. So, and then another really big event that will happen next spring is the Neches River Rendezvous. This was always a big event that was held in Lufkin every year. The Angelina Lufkin Chamber of Commerce put on this event every year, but for the past 5 years, whether it was due to COVID or just lack of resources or whatnot, the event hasn't been held in 5 years. In fact, 2018 was the last time, and I know because I paddled in it, and it's a kayak and canoe paddling event where you get people out on the river, and so they contacted me about December of 2022 and said, so would you want to take on this event? And ANRA has always been a sponsor of the event, so it just seemed like a very natural fit, and so we are going to be the new host of this event, and so I'm really excited about that. And with this, we are going to be incorporating all kinds of educational elements, including the Stash Your Trash and CRP elements and stream team and just all of these wonderful fun things to hopefully help improve water quality and turn some of those red places on these maps to not red. So, and that is what I do. So, any questions? Well, I am glad I did such a good job of explaining everything then. So, thank you very much. And then is Corey our next person? So, without further ado, Corey Edson is with Keep White House Beautiful, and she is a new friend of mine that I have met over the past few months, and she is doing some wonderful things just down the road from Tyler over in White House. So she's going to tell y'all a little bit about Keep White House Beautiful and all of those fantastic things. So thank you, Corey, for being here.
Thank you, Kimberly. I have no presentation. I'm just here. I'm glad to be here. I came here thinking I would learn more from you guys than you would from me, which I am learning a lot. But I am Keep White House Beautiful current president. This is my second year being president, and I got involved in 2019 doing the trash off. That's how I got involved, got started. And so there are people that do care out there, but then there are people who are blind to the problem. They just don't see it. And so about 2 years ago, White House has made a lot of changes. We had started a farmer's market. We have an interagency council, which includes the city government. It includes the schools. Sorry, I'm very nervous. It includes, the Education Foundation, all these other organizations. We come together and have a meeting once a month. Sorry. And so we meet and we learn about what everybody's doing. And so because of that, we are people who care, and we are a community that sees what needs to be going on, that needs to happen, and we help each other. So I think that's a big, that's a big thing. And so when we do the farmers market, we're out there once a month and we're educating people, because so many people go, I didn't know that. So if you can get one person that says, I didn't know that, well, thank you very much for sharing the information with me, then it's really worth it. So people are out there, people do care, and so we just got to keep at it and don't give up, because it will get better. Sorry. Does anybody have any questions?
When did Keep White House Beautiful start?
Actually started by Debbie Schaefer. She was a teacher, and she just noticed the litter was a big problem. That was back in '89. She started the group 90, and I think officially in 91. Around 90, 91 became official. But it started because she was a teacher and she just saw that it was a litter problem in White House. And so she got involved with getting the school active, getting the kids active. And that's another thing too. So about 2 years ago, the high school started a youth community council, and they mirror our White House government. So they have a president, vice president, treasurer, all that, and we are going to be Saturday, July 1st at Lake Tyler with the Youth Community Council passing out bags, the Stash Your Trash bags. So we are very fortunate to be able to work with these group of students who are just so inspiring, and their energy is just amazing, and they care. So it's finding like-minded people, so we're really excited about that. Really excited about that. But because the youth is our future, so the more you can educate, the more you can get out there, talk to people, it'll spread. Because our mission, we're not the city gardeners, we're not the trash pick grubbers. That's not our job. Our job as Keep White House Beautiful is to inspire others in our community to take care of our community. And if each person, just however they live, act, work, play, if they just take care of their little area, we wouldn't have as many problems as we do. So, yeah, we're just really fortunate, really excited that we have the farmers market, we have the youth, we're with the library, and in the Parks and Rec, and the government. Our mayor is wonderful. Everybody's very supportive of each other. It's really, really nice. And we'll be going to the Keep Texas Beautiful conference next week. So I'm looking forward to that, because that's always, there's so many ideas, and there's so many people to talk to. your mind is just going 1,000 miles an hour and you just don't have the time or the resources to get it all done. You're like, I want to do this and I have to do this, I want to do this, and you know, but we'll slowly but surely implement different programs. But the stature trash is something easy. You know, it's not difficult. You give these bags to people and they're like, oh my goodness. And they come up with their own ways of using the bags. You know, and when Kimberly was at the farmer's market with us, the kids, they were already running around having a competition to see who could fill up their bags first.
I didn't offer any
No,
either.
no, they just did it just because they wanted to. It's something fun. Yes, sir.
Do you provide COVID gloves for people to pick up trash?
When we do trash off events, we do, but not when we just hand bags to people or when we're giving out supplies. We don't. But when we do our trash off or our fall sweep, it's a huge community event. We do provide safety vests, t-shirts, the nitrile gloves, the fabric gloves, first aid kits, the bags, the litter picker. We provide all that for them. So.
Well, I just want to make a comment that I can personally attest to all of the amazing things that Corey has done and is doing in White House, and it's really inspirational. Like I said, she's a new friend that I've made, a new partnership, and I came up and spent the morning with her at the farmer's market a few weeks ago, and just seeing Corey just get out there and talking to anybody and everybody about what we're doing, and just having people that recognize Corey and coming up and talking to her and saying, hey, I found this, you know, illegal dump, and, you know, we called the police and we got this taken care of, and, you know, just her message, spreading it out in her community, and then seeing the indirect impacts on that because of what her and her team have done, and then seeing the people who have been taking action because of that. It's really inspirational. So
it really is. Well, it's our community members. We have a member, and she's older, and her husband is not well, so she can't do a whole lot. But she wanted to start cleaning up her neighborhood. So she inspired me to start a Clean Up Your Neighborhood program. And Marie, she said, I want it not just to be cleaning up the trash in our neighborhood or pruning bushes. I want it to be, how are you? Do you need help? So it's the neighborhood cleanup, but it's neighbors caring for neighbors, which is really part of our mission, is we're inspiring people to care. And so it's just people, you find the right people. Some people just walk on by. Like I said, there's some people that they don't care. They're absolutely blind to the trash along the side of the road, and all of us, it drives us nuts, you know, but it's just education. It's just keep at it. Don't give up. You know, this is our second year doing farmers market, and like Kimberly said, people recognize me. And they know, and they come, oh, well, so-and-so told me to come talk to you because you've got this kind of thing. And we're completely volunteer run. I mean, everybody either works, or if they're retired, they're busy taking care of their grandkids. So we all have full lives. And we're just doing what we can when we can. But the thing I've noticed is just keep at it. Just keep getting your name out there, keep talking to people, keep spreading the word, keep giving them, how can I help you, giving them tips, and you know, we are fully funded by our community. They support us once a year. We do a fundraiser, and with that fundraiser, we buy our bags, our produce. We've been giving out, you know, reusable produce bags, little things here and there. Not a lot, because we try to be very smart with our money, but just little things here and there to help the community go, oh, I can do that? Great, thank you so much. And then they're going to pass that on to their friends. You know, so we've given out, you know, the grocery bags and the reusable bags, and something fun we love to do is with the kids. We've talked about vermicomposting. We gave out free worms to the kids, and we had them name them, you know, and they put them in a little compostable little container, you know, and we made bird feeders. They love that. We took all these plastic bottles, cleaned them up, of course, but then the kids got to fill them up with birdseed and take them home and hang them up. You know, it's just anytime you can involve hands-on making with the kids. For Christmas, we made little bells out of the egg cartons. You know, we've done all sorts of stuff. Anything, kids love crafting and working with their hands. Even though there's all this technology out there, you think, oh, all they want to do is watch TV. No, they really do want to be creative, and they are very creative. And so Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, American Heritage Girls. I mean, the high school even has a fishing program, I'm trying to get them involved with us, you know. So it's just meeting people, talking to people, and just keep at it. The more you do, the more friends you make, and the bigger our circle grows, and the happier we all are. So it's great.
We're actually running a little bit ahead of schedule. Yeah, that's the last thing on our agenda. So all that we have at this point is open discussion. So if anyone has anything they want to ask or talk about, I'll be happy to try and answer any questions, or I'm sure any of our presenters will be happy to answer any questions if you've thought of any.
Free litter bags, if anybody wants one.
I do have a question about the trash. Like, do you guys care about recyclable stuff?
Yes. So one thing that I always try to incorporate with the stream cleanups and with people that I distribute these to, like for instance, anytime I participate in a stream cleanup event or just a roadway cleanup, I will usually designate students or community members to use the yellow bags to pick up recyclable objects only, and then that way they're recycling the bag as well. And then anybody who's just getting your run-of-the-mill nasty dirty litter that can't be recycled, just to use regular trash contractor bags that keep these beautiful hands out. So what's kind of a 2-for-1 thing is that they're also learning, because then usually they pick up a lot of things that are not recyclable but they think are, and so then it becomes a lesson on, oh, well, this actually isn't recyclable and here's why. So we do a little bit of sorting things out. So it works out really well. So and I know that's what I do. Do y'all do anything similar, different, or pretty much the same?
Similar, yeah. Again, it's just education. A lot of people don't know.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of resources out there where you can, there's games you can play for the kids, all sorts of games. One we did, we made them, we had a recycle bit trash can, and we made them do like a funny little dance or spin before they threw it away. But then we had a trivia question game, like you're on the game show and you ask these questions and it was either true or false or whatnot. So, and they like it, you know. So, yeah, it's an education.
Yep. And it's been a lot of education on my part too, because even I've found out recently that some things are not recyclable that I thought were. So it's been educational for me as well. So.
It depends on the area.
Yeah, and that's another thing, depending on where you live and what your recycling center even has, one takes or doesn't take, or the changes. So for instance, in Lufkin, they used to recycle glass, but in January they stopped recycling glass.
Why is that?
It became too expensive because they had to haul it down to Houston, and it just was not worth it to them, unfortunately.
It's actually cheaper to make new glass than it is to recycle, because the time it takes to sort it is very time consuming and expensive.
Okay.
Which is unfortunate.
It is unfortunate because if you're manufacturing glass, you need a certain type of, like for windows, you have to be very specific about what glass you can use versus, you know, making a bottle versus anything else. So the cleaning, the sorting process is very expensive.
Okay.
We encourage our community, because we don't recycle glass, we encourage them to, our big thing is repurposing. That is huge. Recycling is great, but it's usually the last thing you want to do. And so one of my favorite things was the high school horticulture program. They were asking for glass jars because they were going to make flower arrangements to give to the local nursing home for Mother's Day. And so anytime I see we need this for our STEM project or whatnot, I share that so that you can do that.
That's great.
have some people using the marinara sauce jar in their like rehearsal dinner and stuff.
Oh,
yeah.
Yes, I mean, there's just, I don't know if y'all like Pinterest, but oh my goodness, there are so many ideas, of, out there. There's a lot of ideas out there. But it's also, glass is great for storing your food too, because plastic tends to make it rot faster, honestly. They'll repurpose.
So I know you said that the bags are made out of recycled materials. What about potentially doing them further on as compostable materials? So like if they do end up in a landfill, that they will break down with whatever that's potentially in them, or like color coding them. So like say the recycle bags are green and they can be recycled with whatever going in there, and then like the compostable bags could be yellow and that can go in the trash in the landfill, so it'll break down over time and help maybe differentiate between the two further on.
Yeah, that's fantastic, and you're actually thinking along the same lines as what I have, because, I mentioned I'm going to be ordering these in the fall. So there's currently only one company in the entire nation that makes these with the individualized logos like this on them. So we're kind of stuck with just using the one manufacturer. So as of now it's Fox Packaging out of the Dallas area. And they have been coming up with a lot of really great innovative things as of late. I have not seen any compostable per se bags, but I'm waiting for it. And I think it could be something that happens. I think that's great. Something that I was going to be pricing to do would be to keep the yellow ones for trash, but then also order these in a blue color for collecting recyclable type items. So that way that can help with that differentiation. So yeah, but I'm waiting on those compostable bags as well.
Be cool. Technology
Yep.
moves ever forward. All right. If no one has anything else, I'm going to shut the recording down and we can just talk amongst ourselves.
And eat cookies.
And eat cookies. Yeah, there's cookies over there. Even though we
But not for the online people.
carried them in, the online people are out there.
Sorry guys, you should have come.
You figure out how to do the Willy Wonka thing, just take a picture of it and send it to people.